Welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. This is the podcast for athletic directors and coaches where we have our guests share their stories, brag a little bit on their programs, and offer toolbox tips to other leaders. Before we meet today's guest, let's have a shout out to our partners, the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, We Coach, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, and the Florida Coaches Coalition. These are four great organizations. You should have them on your network. And now, don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes as we give our sponsors their shout out. These are all products that I used as a coach or as an athletic director. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Gipper for their support. Gipper's the official social media graphics solution for this podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to start creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. It's so easy to use, even I can use it. Join the 3,000 college and high school athletic programs that are using Gipper. Celebrate your team, promote your athletes with Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com. Change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that allowed them to coach our kids at the highest level. Go to Huddle.com, see why we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to display your school records, your school's Hall of Fame, or to just tell more compelling stories to celebrate your school's diverse history and proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's simple and it's easy. And it's also digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, more customization. Hometown is going to take care of you. They're going to provide a dedicated client success manager to provide hands-on support. Go to hometownticketing.com and get started today. We want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite that offers you a fundraiser, information management, parent connection, and more. SnapRaise is hands down the finest fundraiser out there. Go to snapraise.com to check out the entire platform. Snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Go to homecampus.com and let them show you all the things that they can do. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and the Home Campus team was easy to work with. It's the official high school and state association and student athlete clearance platform for the podcast. Check on your athlete's eligibility, schedule, and a whole lot more. Go to homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to District 1. Go to District 1, that's WON, and you're going to feel like you've won when you see their custom uniforms that are on-time delivery and their one-at-a-time replacement program. You're never going to have to order a complete set of uniforms again when you just need one or two replacement sets. Go to District 1, click on the Team Gear button, and you'll get a free quote. That's district1.com. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com today. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic directors already hear from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic Surveys will connect you with the 2%, but they're also going to connect you with the 98% that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking to a frustrated parent, your school board, or your principal. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. going up to Georgia today, and we're going to visit with a long time, I don't know how we say this, internet friend. We're meeting for the first time, in the virtual sphere. Kevin Grooms is our guest today. Kevin is a certified master athletic administrator. He's a longtime athletic director and a basketball coach in the state of Georgia. He's going to talk about this. He's also recently joined the NIAAA's national faculty. So we're in the presence of greatness here. Kevin Grooms, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you, Jake, for having me, man. I really do appreciate this opportunity, just a platform where I'm able to drop some nuggets for any other athletic director that's doing phenomenal things already out there in the world of athletic administration.
Well, again, you and I talked about this. We followed each other on Twitter and the various platforms. You've always been very supportive of our posts. And this has been a long time coming, but we're glad we got you here today. For our listeners, we're recording this on July 24th. So it's going to be very timely when you are listening to it. And let's go ahead and get started. Kevin, as you know, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own high school and college years, and we'll take our first break and then hear about your early career. But what's the Kevin Grooms origin story?
Well, Kevin Grooms, which is I'm originally from Thomasville, Georgia. It's Southwest Georgia. It's about 4 hours from the Atlanta area, about 3.5 hours from the Macon area. Some familiar names that you may know from Thomasville is Charlie Ward, William Andrews, Guy McIntyre. Those are some familiar names that you may know that came from Thomasville, Georgia. But that's where I'm from. I grew up in Thomasville. My dad was a lot of people don't know this. My dad was a mortician. We actually own a funeral home in Thomasville. So, and my dad is recently deceased, and my mom runs the funeral home. But throughout high school, throughout my time frame, I played football, basketball, ran track, cross country. I did it all. But what I was most successful at was basketball. That was my thing. That was my niche. I was one of those kids where my mom got on to me pretty good, about different things. So it came to a point in time where I was playing football and I was not doing my very best in school. And my mom made me decide either you're going to play football or you're going to play basketball. You're just not going to be able to do all these sports. So I chose basketball as my sport and did fairly well. I was the captain of the basketball team. My senior year, I was the leading scorer. I averaged over 20 points a game. So I did fairly well in the game of basketball in high school. And that led me to going to college and furthering my career in athletics.
You mentioned Thomasville. I know exactly where that is. I finished my career as an athletic director just across the border in Tallahassee. So, know very much. And I want to say, as we've driven, through the town there, I've seen the sign. So, very cool. Looking back to those days, you mentioned that you did all the sports, but there were some classroom struggles. As an athletic director, as a coach, you probably had some kids in a similar situation. Were you able to, lean on your own experience to help them through those struggles?
Yes, sir. Now we're talking about that education-based athletics, and it's very essential. As a kid, I was one that it came easy. I really didn't have to study for anything. It just kind of came easy. I was more of a visual learner. So that's who I was as a person, on the court, in the classroom. But then, I started playing around, messing around, thinking that I could mess around and still participate in athletics. And I just had parents that they didn't play that. It was about, making sure that I get the education that I need. I am the first boy of my grandmother's grandkids that actually went to college and graduated from college. So that that speaks volume of who my family is and how they raised me, because even though they wasn't able to complete it, like meaning my mom and things like that, and my grandmother, they still instilled the knowledge into me to make sure that I make sure that education was first. And I appreciate that.
Let's go and touch on that. Very recently, my wife and I watched that movie Air. And if you're not familiar with it, it's supposedly about Nike back in the day signing Michael Jordan, but it's really a lot about Michael's mother and the influence that she had on him. I don't know if you've seen the movie or not, but talk a little bit about, that influence that your mom, and it sounds like maybe your grandmother might have had on you growing up.
Yes, a foundation. Same thing that I'm talking about right now. That's what I talked to my ADs about. It's about a foundation. And I had a foundation of praying parents. They prayed for me. They guided me. Didn't have the tip top education that they probably should have had, but they knew the routes in which I needed to go. So what I would call them would be bridge builders for me. They paved the way for me, and they made a way to make it happen. So yes, I seen the movie Air, and I can kind of see my mother in that framework of what she did for Michael Jordan during that time frame, because she was the person that spoke for him. She was the person that did pretty much everything, so I could see that.
Yeah, and I think our moms don't always get that shout out that they deserve. And of course, we love our dads and all the people that have an impact on us. But shout out for those moms. Good stuff. For our listeners, our guest today is Kevin Grooms. He's the county athletic director for Bibb County Schools. That's in the Macon, Georgia area. Also a longtime basketball coach. We're going to take our first break, but we're coming back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Gipper for their support. Gipper is the official social media graphics solution for the podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to create professional quality sports graphics for your school's social media channel. It's so easy, even I can do it. Celebrate your teams, promote your program. Gipper's used by over 3,000 athletic programs, including colleges, in the United States. It's professional graphic design made simple. Go to Gipper.com, let their team help you. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that helped them coach our kids up to their highest level. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Go to Huddle.com, join the 6 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Kevin Grooms, a certified master athletic administrator from Georgia. Kevin, you're currently the county AD. You're overseeing a number of schools, tons of programs, but take us through those early stops, post-college. What were some of your early positions in educational athletics?
I actually got started at elementary school. That was my first job. And after I finished up at elementary school, I actually worked there for 1 year. And I got moved. Well, actually, I didn't get moved. I got rifted because they lost the PE slot. I didn't know anything about that. Fresh out of college, I didn't know anything about being rifted. So that was kind of crazy for me to see and understand. So I think I would say I did a really good job at elementary school, because I didn't even interview at the middle school across the street from the elementary school. The principal at the elementary school kind of called the principal and was like, "Hey, I got this guy. We just don't have another slot, and I know you got a slot, and he's a phenomenal teacher. I think he'll be a great asset to your school." So that's where I started my coaching career. It was at Point South Middle School in Clayton County. And I coached football, basketball, and track. And it was different. It was different. I actually liked middle school. Like I thought that was my niche. Like I really, really, really liked middle school. Kids participated, parents came out of support. The community was involved. Like it was really, really, really an awesome experience in Clayton County. And then I moved from Clayton County. I stayed at school for like 5 years. So I moved from there, and then I went to Atlanta Public Schools, and I worked at a middle school in Atlanta Public School, where I had a totally different demographic than what I experienced in Clayton County. I experienced kids that were below the poverty line. I experienced kids that rode public transportation to school. I dealt with kids that mother and father wasn't in the household. So it was a whole different demographic of kid that I was dealing with. And at that particular school, that school taught me how to teach, I would say, because you go into schools and you think that the teacher is supposed to get the respect of the kids, but there I had to gain the respect of the kids in order to teach them. And that at that school, I was the assistant athletic director, I was the football coach, and the basketball coach, the head football coach, and the basketball coach at that school. So I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I was trying to get me a head basketball job. I was moving around, I was interviewing. I couldn't land a job up in Atlanta. So I had a friend of mine. He said, "Hey, I know you keep looking for a head basketball job. I know that Macon, which is Bibb County, they have openings down there, and they're always looking to promote young coaches." I said, "Wow, okay." So I took a look at it. You talking about a guy? I always give this story about perseverance, because I persevered through so many challenges. I could have gave up a long time ago by trying to accomplish my dream of being a head basketball coach, but I didn't. So you're talking about a person that went on 20 plus interviews before I finally got the job.
Yep.
And then when you finally get the job, so you're talking about a person that actually really crawled before he walked. He didn't just start out walking. I had to crawl. So I was a 7th grade coach. I was an 8th grade coach. I was a 9th grade coach. So I didn't pretty much coached on all levels. So when I finally got it, and I got the call about I was going to be the head boys basketball coach at Northeast High School here in Macon, tears started rolling out my eyes, because I knew what the journey was, and it was a tough journey. And I remember the AD at the time, and he was like, "Coach, are you all right?" And I had to gather myself, because it was so emotional. It was an emotional and vulnerable time for me. And I became the boys basketball coach at Northeast High School.
Boy, I can relate a lot to that. My first job, I substitute taught for a couple years after graduating, just couldn't get a job. And then after subbing, it's kind of like you with your elementary position. You build up a rep. Hey, that guy's pretty good in the classroom. And my first full-time job was at a middle school. And I remember that. You're teaching PE. I was also teaching health. I'm coaching 4 seasons, girls and everything. I mean, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And then started, getting that itch to climb the ladder and become a head coach. So very cool. Appreciate you sharing. And I think it's a good reminder for some of our younger AD listeners or aspiring AD listeners that you're not usually going to start with that county AD job, or that, even, just hired as a full-time AD. You have to get your experience. You have to, spend some time teaching and coaching and doing all those things that you talked about. Very cool stuff. Okay. You were athletic director, and you were also the varsity basketball coach. How does that compare now with just being, and I say just being a county AD? You still have a little itch to the sideline?
I'm glad that you asked me that, Jake. It was a very different journey. The guy that was actually in this job before me, I knew that he was retiring. I was the AD at Northeast High School, basketball coach. I had a really good team. I had 8 seniors on that team. I knew they was going to be really, really, really good. So, how you always dream about something, then now it becomes a reality. So you think about things when you talk about theory versus application. So theory, yeah, I wanted a job, but then application, actually seeing it, now it becomes a whole lot different for me. So when I seen the job open, I paused for a minute because now I got these kids. We in the middle of basketball season because it posted like November. So I'm just starting basketball season, and now I see this job that's open. So I was like, I was hesitant about filling out the application. But through conversation with my wife and my family, they said, well, you need to apply. Even I had ADs in the district that was calling me and telling me I need to apply for the job. So I thought that speaks volume of the type of work that we have done together. And I applied for the job. I was actually going through some trials and tribulations in my life during that time. My mother-in-law was she was almost transitioning. So I was dealing with that and, having to go back and forth and deal with some family issues. But I filled it out, got an interview. And so I had 2 interviews. And then the third call was the night of the board meeting. It was crazy because I was like, wow, I don't know if they're going to give it to me or not. Cause they waited all the way to the board meeting to call me first. And then they told me that I did get the job, man. It was an overwhelming experience, joy, another vulnerable moment, just to see that happening. But, and to transition to that role. But the key thing was when I talked to the hiring committee, which became my boss at the time, I talked to her and she seen that I was a little disturbed. And she was like, what's going on? I said, well, I hate to leave my kids like that because we kind of in the middle of the basketball season. I got 8 seniors. We're going to be pretty good. And she was like, yeah, but you knew that you was going to transition for this job when it happened. I said, yeah, but what I stated to her was, if we're about kids, grant me this opportunity because I cannot leave them like this. I just can't. So she took it back, talked to the superintendent at the time, and they allowed me to finish it up. So I was coaching high school basketball at night, but during the day I was the county athletic director. So it was a tough job, but I had to figure it out. And the crazy thing about it, Jake, we happened to lose. We made it all the way to the Final Four, the game right before the championship game. So I thought it was well worth it.
And I mean, what a great story, but also good for them for seeing how much that meant to you. And absolutely right. We're here for the kids. We're about the kids. So great way to, you used the word transition a couple of times, transition from one position to the next. Thanks for sharing that story. For listeners, our guest again is Kevin Grooms. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the county athletic director for the Bibb County School District in Macon, Georgia. We're going to take another break, but we're coming back, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. They're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. You're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or you're looking for a cool way to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. Their technology is way, way ahead of the curve, and their customer service is just outstanding. Vital Signs Wall of Fame has a mission to help you bring your school's legacy to life. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, check out their products, okay, and then place your order. vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, digital ticketing that offers more. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, not just for sports events, but things like school plays, school concerts, dances, even graduations. And the best part, you're going to have a dedicated client success manager providing hands-on support every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. They've got more support, more security, and more customization. Hometown is here to make the best solution for you. Go to hometownticketing.com to get your questions answered. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Kevin, I spoke early on about we've got some younger ADs and some aspiring ADs that listen to the podcast. And I think it's important for them to hear about the journey that we all take with our state association and with the NIAAA. So share a little bit. How'd you first hear about the Georgia Association, and what's your level of involvement with NIAAA?
Well, I had a mentor, a person that I looked for guidance, support, wisdom. His name is Jasper Jewell. He is the county athletic director of Atlanta Public Schools. So during my journey, he was a person when I finally took over the athletic job at Northeast High School. I called him and I said, what have I got myself into? Coaching and being a head coach is a little bit different than being over everybody. Now, like, it's crazy. I thought I had it together. I seen some things. I thought I wanted to do some things, but now I'm everywhere. He told me then, he said, Kevin, stop what you're doing right now. I need you to join the GADA and the NIAAA and then call me back. And I did that. And then I called him back. And it was getting ready for the spring conference. Still didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was trying to gather some information. So I went to the spring conference with the GADA, which is the Georgia Athletic Directors Association. I went to the spring meeting and I was blown away. I was like, I've been doing everything wrong. I'm in class with people and they talking about handbooks. They talking about all kind of different words. Like, do anybody in here got your handbook? Websites? What, your EAP? What? I'm all confused. Everybody raising their hand. Jake, they raising their hand. Everybody got, I felt real small. For the first time in my life, I felt real small. And I'm like, wow, I got to get this stuff together. Like, so I went through that training, taking classes. I came back. I was like a sponge that whole weekend. I was asking people questions. I was involved in collaborating with different people. And I came back, and first thing I said, I need to talk to my principal. So I met with my principal and I said, hey, I need you to join this organization with me. And my principal at the time, Stephen Jones, he actually joined the organization with me. Most principals might not step into that realm, but he was an ex-coach. He was an ex-PE major. So he kind of understood what it entailed, but he needs to be a part of this because I want him to be a part of me and to see what I'm trying to do on my vision and my plan for Northeast. So he joined the following year with me. And he went into class and he was blown away too. Because after I started telling him everything, what I had been learning, what all the stuff that we need to be doing, and he was just blown away. And he asked the ADs there, he said, I have a question for everybody. And he raised his hand. You were talking about the principal. He don't have to be a part of this. He got a whole nother job going on. And he said, I just want to know, if y'all didn't have this organization right here in Georgia, how do you know how to become a good AD? How you know what's right, what's wrong? And everybody was like, we wouldn't. This is the key. This is the answer. So he joined. He was the principal liaison on the board. Later on, I became part of the faculty with the GADA, teaching classes. I started out teaching workshops at first, just getting my feet wet, and then I started teaching classes. And I gained my certification, which is my CAA, and then I went ahead and gained my CMAA through the certifications and taking the classes. So that led me on into, I want to further my education. I want to make sure that I want to be a part of the national faculty. So that's where I joined the national faculty this past spring, and I'll be teaching at the national conference in Orlando, 6/18 and 6/20 at the national conference in Orlando.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I swing by those two rooms, since I'm obviously down here in Florida. Let's go back to those early LTI courses that you were taking. And again, I remember being in that same position. I'd been an AD for a while and also a head football coach, but probably more of a head football coach. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. As you look around the room, you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's that old expression, you don't know what you don't know, and that's was kind of my wake up moment. As you begin to knock off the courses, any of those early foundational courses stick out for you? Not so much in an alarming way, but in a good way. Hey, I can't wait to take this back to my school.
As I always tell people, even my athletic directors, legal issues will blow you away because you don't really see the legal liability. As I always tell my athletic directors here in my county, coaches just want to coach. That's the only thing coaches want to do. They just want to coach. They're not worried about a child not being supervised. They're not worried about parents dropping out kids early. They're not worried about anything. No, they're not worried about a fly ball, hitting somebody in the head. Like, they're not worried about that. They just want to coach. They want to get these kids out there. They want to play. They're not worried about eligibility. They just want these kids to be out there. These are good kids. I need them out there on my field or on my court. That's the only thing they worry about. So when I talk to my athletic directors, that's the first thing I told them. I said, y'all are going to be blown away by the legal liability classes. And they were. And it gave them a different perspective. And that's what we look for, a different perspective of how you see things. Yeah, we see things this way, but what if it happens this way? Are we ready? So that was one. I mean, it was a whole lot of them that I could really talk about. Curb appeal.
Oh yeah.
I could just keep going into different LTI courses that I've taken. Especially the last one that I took was really, really, really informative, and it was the role of the urban athletic director. Mm-hmm. Now I love that class. I love all of them, but that was one of my most recent classes that I took, and that was really informative.
Yeah, and you mentioned part of your experience, in the discussion in the courses, people talking about handbooks. Our most recent episode, in fact, one almost just before yours, was with Zach Stevenson from New Mexico. He's part of the faculty for the brand new LTI 601, putting together a handbook. So, that course is going to be offered for the first time at Orlando. Make sure you take 618 and 620. That Kevin's going to be part of the team. But if you can, sign up for 601, brand new course on writing handbooks. Okay. I see Kevin scribbling that down, so he's going to take that. For our listeners, our guest is Kevin Grooms, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the County Athletic Director for Bibb County Schools, and that's in the Macon, Georgia area. We're going to take another break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank the folks at Snap Mobile for their support of the podcast. Go to snapraise.com and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an AD do your job better. Of course, there's Snap Raise. If you're looking for a fundraiser, you need to stop. Snap Raise is hands down the best fundraising platform out there. They'll even give you your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. Nobody else does that. But there's more. There's Snap Manage, Snap Store, Snap Connect, and a whole lot more. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school information and athletic clearance platform for the podcast. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every day, and it was just fantastic. And their staff was great to work with, too. To find out all the ways that Home Campus can help you, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Kevin, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you have done as an athletic director, or maybe these are things that you do with all of your schools as a county AD, that you're particularly proud of, that you would plug into that category of best practices?
Jake, I'm glad you asked me that question. When we talk about best practices, the first thing that comes to my head, even on the high school level or either right here on the district level, is building relationships. I think if that's a foundation, that's something that you have to do. You have to show people that you care. I believe in valuing people, and if people see that you care and you're passionate about what you're doing and that you're right there with them when they're doing it, I think they will be right there with you whenever you're doing any kind of task. Um, Working as a system, you know, I don't know everything. And I tell my ADs that all the time. I don't know everything. So we come up with everything together. Like we came up with our creed. Our creed for our county is stewardship, scholarship, and sportsmanship. I didn't come up with that by myself. We all came up with it together. So you got to get buy-in. Buy-in is very critical in this role. And you got to figure out what's the best way to get buy-in from your staff. Because your staff could turn either way, but you want to make sure that you get buy-in from them, and you got to figure out that what works best for you and your staff. Being organized, you got to be organized in everything that you do. You're not going to be the smartest person. You're not going to know everything, but you could be organized. So make sure that you're organized and always be prepared. I know different situation happens. As I told my ADs when the Damian Hamlin incident happened, I was watching football that Monday night, and when the incident happened, the first thing came to my mind was my county. Bibb County came to my mind, and I just pondered. And I was pondering on different types of scenarios. So our next AD meeting happened that week. And my slide on my PowerPoint was, are we ready? That's what I put on my slide. Are we ready? Are we ready as a district? Are we prepared as a district if anything like this catastrophic happens? Are we prepared? Have we practiced our EAPs? Yeah, we write it down. But our EAPs need to be scenario based, meaning that we should be practicing it. So we'll know what to do when it happens. Because we wrote it down on paper, but do it actually happen like that on paper? So that was one of the main things that I talked about, just are we ready as a district? Are we ready as a staff? Because anything can happen. Yeah, you could always say that we're prepared. Yeah, we're prepared. But when it happens, are we really prepared for it? So those are some of the things that I would definitely say best practices. Valuing people, valuing people and building relationships will be my top ones.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Damar Hamlin situation. I'm no longer in the game as an AD. I'm a retired AD, but I remember watching that game and having those very thoughts. I flash back to our school. Would we have been ready? And I want to say, yeah, we would have been. We had good trainers. We had emergency EMTs on the sidelines. And our coaches. We stress that student athlete safety. I think we would have been ready, but gosh, what if we weren't? Think about that kid. Think about that kid's family, and so I think I really believe that for those schools that weren't ready, I think that event and news of that event was kind of a wake up call. What was the response from your coaches in that coaches meeting and that AD meeting? As you asked them that question, are we ready? Did you feel like, yeah, we're ready, or was there some nervousness about it?
I felt like we are ready, but are we ready with fidelity? That's a difference, and that's where I said, well, we got to start doing scenario basis. I don't know if everybody's doing it at their school, but we need to work off scenario basis. Not only that, Jake, I also went in and told them every season now we're going to do an overview of our CPR first aid. Because, yeah, we certified as a football coach, you were certified. But came back around to the next season of football, You just need a refresher course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to go back through the whole thing, but you just need a 10 to 15-minute refresher course over CPR first aid. You know, and I said that we're doing that for every season now. That's something that I implemented when that situation happened.
No, and again, you're absolutely right. You know, that refresher course is so vital. Um, Kevin, we're going to do some more, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, find out more about how you do things there at Bibb County, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
You can contact me on my Twitter at Coach Grooms. That's my Twitter handle. Or you can email me at kevin.grooms@bcsdk12.net. Either one of those, you should be able to get me.
And if you're not on Twitter, you know, Kevin has a very strong Twitter game. You know, again, we follow each other, but, you know, check it out. Kevin Grooms from Bibb County, Certified Master Athletic Administrator. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we're coming back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to District 1 for their support. Go to district1.com. That's WON. And you're going to feel like you've won when you see their custom uniforms, their on-time delivery, and their one-at-a-time replacement policy. You're never going to have to order a complete set again when you just need one or two replacements. Go to district1.com, click on the Team Gear button, and get your free quote. That's district1.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo and see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule that live web demo. Their products also generate income through sales. We had the board paid for before we even had our first game, and they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Kevin Grooms, a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the county AD for Bibb County in Macon, Georgia. Kevin, you and I were talking during the break, and you shared a really cool thing that you're doing in your district. Can you share that with our listeners?
When I took over this job as being the county AD, and I made sure that we had assistant ADs at every high school. That was one of the things that I pride myself on, because I know how hard it was for me as an athletic director, coaching and being an AD. Like that's very, very hard. And plus, we had some issues going on where I had a colleague of mine that was on administrative leave, and I remember I called him and I was like, "Hey, what do you need me to do? You know, I know you're on administrative leave. What do you need me to do?" And he said, "My principal is doing everything." I said, "Your principal? How's your principal doing everything? He got to run the school." I said, "Well, who's running athletics?" He said, my principal." I said, and that's when I thought about it. I was like, "No, we got to do something different." So when I took over the job, that's when I added assistant ADs in everybody's school. But not only that, I said that we need some type of platform where we're able to educate, not just coaches, but regular teachers. Anybody that's a certified staff at our school, we need to be able to educate them for as athletics if we ever have a problem where we don't have an athletic director at that site. So that's why I came up with the Aspiring Athletic Directors cohort. Very good platform. Last year was my first year doing it. We had about 30 people in my first cohort class, because I made my ADs in my district, my high school ADs, my assistant ADs at my high school, and also my middle school ADs take it, as well as I had some people that applied for it and took it as well. But like I told them, they had to take it because they got to be the person that put my vision out there, put the plan out there. I don't know how you can get your staff to be a part of it if you haven't been a part of it to gain the knowledge that you need to gain. So I came up with that, the Aspire AD cohort. And in this cohort, we talk about different issues. Some of the issues we talk about is Georgia High School, our Georgia High School Association, where I actually get Dr. Robin Hines to come in to talk to my group about the different issues that we're dealing with Georgia High School. We also talk about legal issues, legal and security issues. We talk about financial responsibility. We talk about athletic facilities. We talk about personnel. We talk about event management and media. And we also do an interview at the end. And we do that scenario based as well, just to get our ADs and also our coaches to help them out when they're interviewing different people. So I think it was very productive. It's a year-long cohort. So like my second cohort class, we actually start this Saturday coming up, July the 29th, will kick off my second cohort class, and I'm very excited about it. I think this new class is going to gain a different wealth of knowledge because I added in a lot of different things. You know how when you go through something and you see some stuff different, you want to do some stuff different now. So yeah, I added a lot of different things that's going to be new, innovative, and exciting for this new group.
You know, your first cohort is out there now. What are some of the things that you've seen from the individuals that participated in that? I'm going to guess, you know, some were ADs, some were coaches. You know, what are some things that have come back to you from their cohort experience?
It's a lot of things that they did not know. And you know, as an AD, you know, I was in their shoes. And I'm thinking they knew it, but they really didn't know it. So that was some of the things that I learned from. They was like, we never even knew that. Yeah, we have our AD meetings. Now my AD meetings now is more of a PL now. We do a lot of PL, a lot of professional development, we do a lot of that now because my insight from my cohort, because they don't know. You know, a lot of the jobs people have taken, people have given people jobs versus actually going through a whole application and interview process. People just feel as though that you've been a part of athletics that you should just know, and you just don't know you don't know everything about dealing with athletics. I mean, me being the person I am right now to the day, I don't know everything about athletics. I'm always learning. I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always trying to find new innovative ways in order to make best practices work for my district. So that's what I figured out. You know, a lot of things they didn't know, and then bringing in different people. Another thing that we did, I also brought in different people from different districts. Like Jasper Jewell came and spoke to my group. You know, so my groups could see something totally different because, well, I wanted to look somewhat like ours because we both are centralized, meaning that we have our stadiums and our teams come to our stadiums and play. But I needed them to hear something totally different versus what he does at his district versus what I do in my district, because it's totally two different districts. Things that I'm able to do in my district, he's not able to do. Things that he's doing in his district, I'm not able to do. You know, so they was able to gain a wealth of knowledge and get some nuggets from that to take with them to move their athletics at their schools.
Yeah, I mean, it gets me excited, makes me want to come back and be an AD again. Okay. Kevin, this has been really cool. I appreciate you sharing today because I know it's a busy time for you, but we're not quite done. We always like to wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. You certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break and hear from athletic surveys. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's take that final break. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Kevin Grooms is going to put in his new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic surveys not only connects you with the 2%, but also the 98% that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with that frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. That's athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Kevin Grooms, a certified master athletic administrator, longtime AD and coach in Georgia, and the county athletic director for Bibb County Schools. Kevin, now's the time. We're going to ask you to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, and I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
The first thing I would do or would say to a new AD is to find you a mentor / coach. You need someone to talk to mentor you, to coach you through different things that you have going on, situations that may come up. So I would say a mentor / coach would be my first thing that I would definitely tell them to do. Next, I would tell them or talk to them about joining professional learning communities. What I mean by that is joining different organizations like the NIAAA, the GADA. Those platforms are very, very, very helpful. Those learning communities where you're able to sit down and collab and network and come up with different resources that you can find for your school and your programs. And the last tip I would probably say would be saying relationships. I'm big on relationships. I'm big on valuing people. That's what I do. You know, I don't think I would be where I'm at if I didn't build relationships and value people in my life. So that's one of the main things that I would always do and I value it a lot. So get you a mentor / coach, joining professional learning communities, meaning organizations, and building relationships.
Great tools. And having spent this, last 45, 50 minutes with you, I'm not at all surprised that those were your tools, just based on the things that you shared and your experience, the mentoring relationship, relationships in general. Okay. And, your commitment to being a lifelong learner with your state organization. And now, as a member of the national faculty with the NIAAA. Kevin, one more time, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
They can contact me, Jake, on my Twitter handle, which is @CoachGrooms. And you will find phenomenal things going on my Twitter handle. And also my email is kevin.grooms@bcsdk12.net.
Okay. Kevin Grooms, Bibb County Schools, thanks so much for spending time with us today, and all the best moving forward. Definitely going to look you up this coming December at the national conference.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate you carving out some time with me today.
Oh, no, absolutely. The pleasure was ours, sir. For our listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening as always. Come back next time for another great interview, and just about every day for best practices on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.